You know, when I made this YouTube channel many years ago, almost 10 years ago now, I did have a clear goal with my content, which was I was going to cover the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a lot deeper than that, though, looking back in hindsight. My real goal with starting the channel was just I needed something to talk to. And so um, this is going to be a video kind of about that. What have I been up to for the past, 5 years? You guys have seen me make like sprinkles of videos here and there since COVID, but the channel's kind of lacked a coherent, objective focus, I would say, over the last 5 years because, um, the whole Eagles thing just kind of fell off for me. I dabbled in politics and doing like edited content. I've dabbled in gaming, just kind of trying to figure out a direction. If I was gonna make content, I even just got to a point where I was like, I just don't even want to make videos anymore. I just don't care about this, um, as well. So I'm not trying to make like open with this to be some kind of bleeding heart about it, but this is kind of going to be a video about where I'm going to take the channel going forward. And so um, if you guys are up for that, then stay subscribed. If you're new as well, I'm Jigsaw0097 here, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like it, because I'm just gonna be honest. What is going to end up happening is I'm probably just gonna do a mix of everything. But a lot of my videos now are just gonna be kind of like philosophical, just talking about things that I see in the world. Not necessarily religion per se, but I definitely have a very Christian outlook on the world, so things like that will be talked about. And I'm not going to try to cover the day to day, but things happen politically that will need to be discussed as well. And so I'll be kind of talking about that. But yeah, this video, like I said, it's kind of literally about what have I been up to for the last 5 years. And the reason why I want to make this one of my earlier videos that I'm going to release, because that's another thing, is I'm going to try to put myself on a schedule with the channel where I'm releasing content regularly, kind of like a proof of concept kind of thing, just to see, okay, if I go at this regularly, kind of like I did in the past with the Eagles, but more so just try to do like a decent sized video a day, anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes kind of thing, and just see how this goes. Or I guess is what I'm saying, just see how it goes. But yeah, so like, what have I been doing? I've been really since COVID, a lot of things just changed. I thought I had a clear vision of the world, right, in my life. I had a pretty good job in 2020. I was living with people that I enjoyed living with. I was just kind of living in the moment, like a lot of people, to be honest. A lot of people I talk to now have seemed to have broken out of this malaise before COVID, and there's like this restructuring in society, because what COVID showed, at least for me, is it just showed, one, how sheeple people are. That was a huge disappointment for me. It's just, I thought people were a lot smarter than I gave them credit, because from the moment it started, I kind of knew that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. You know, I was like a little afraid for the first maybe month, you know, when it was first happening. It was kind of like, okay, this is it. I always joke with people, it's like I've played enough Resident Evil games to know that when some kind of virus breaks out, it's not good, you know. So that was like my philosophy. But after about a month, you know, looking outside, I was like, you know, there's not people dead on the streets. Everybody's wearing face diapers. That's a little different, but you know, everybody just kind of seems to be doing their thing. And so that was the first thing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start going outside again. And that act alone, I was getting tons of pushback by like people in my life that I was like close to. You know, it's not my like parents or immediately family. They kind of agreed with me. But like a lot of my friends, you know, that's another thing that you don't, when you don't think politically or you don't think about religion for most of your life, which that's kind of how all of us were raised really since like the baby boomers, is that we just don't like think about these deeper spiritual things. But when something like COVID happens, it just kind of like opens your eyes. It either opens your eyes or it doesn't. You know, there's probably a lot of people that it didn't really there's still a lot of people, like I see people wearing like masks in their cars still in 2025. So like there are still those people out there, but for the most part, if you're like an observant, you know, I don't want to use the term like high IQ, but like you know, just intelligent person, you recognize these things. And so yeah, I just remember, yeah, I started like trying to just like live life again. 2020 was another year that was kind of depressing for me too, because it was a year that I set like a bunch of these goals that I was going to do financially and, you know, dating wise and all this stuff. And I just remember like that event that happened the whole year. Really, it happened like the whole year leading up to the rigged election. I don't know if we can like say that on YouTube, but I think we can say now. We can talk about the COVID and the election, because it's in the past now, but it's 5 years in the past. I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to talk about it because that entire year was like an event, and people just lost their loving minds is the best way I can describe it. Like I was using dating apps and I was going out with like a lot of girls. There was a girl I went out with during that time that the whole date she wouldn't take the mask off. Like I never saw I knew what she looked like from the dating app, but I never saw her like face on the date. It was the weirdest thing ever. And she was like talking to me, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This is like absolutely insane. And yeah, there's just this like there's just like this malaise in the air that I couldn't explain then, but I can kind of explain now. And so that's like what I've been up to the last 5 years. Literally, is I've been trying to understand what the hell happened that year. But the more I learn, right, the more I read, the more I research, I realize like oh, this has been going on for much longer, right? COVID was more of just kind of a catalyst of a lot of things. And even before that, right, you had the housing crisis. You've had millennials, my generation. We've pretty much had a crisis every 10 years of our lives. So, but I really think COVID is that's like a defining one that I don't think we're going to recover from. That's like another thing. What I've been doing is I've been like really preparing myself mentally and physically for what possibly could be coming within our lifetimes, you know. And I think it's a higher probability, like especially after the boomers are gone, you know. A lot of people lament the boomers, but I truly believe when they're gone, it's just going to get much worse. And so like all these things of people, oh, it's going to get better when the boomers are gone, you know. But like, for one, my parents will be gone, which will suck. And then two, there's just, after the boomers, there's just not a lot of knowledge that has been passed down. And again, this is, ironically, it's like a paradox. the reason for that is because of the boomers. The boomers learned all this knowledge from the greatest generation, but they've been like selfish with it. That's like one of the problems we're going through right now is the boomers just seem to want to run the world like literally until they're dead. Like this is why you have a politician like Joe Biden like still up there talking about the Democrats and all. It's like, dude, you should be in a retirement home, you know, talking to your grandkids about their lives. You shouldn't be up there talking about, oh, like I think there was some crazy thing with Biden recently where he's talking about like how he's gonna like be active in the party again. The dude is like almost, and then this goes with Trump too. Trump is like 79 this year, something crazy like that. The boomers just, to Trump's credit though, he's kind of like passing the torch finally. Like JD Vance, he's like barely older than me, so like that's kind of weird to think about as well. But it's like it feels like too little, too late, you know. And again, COVID was 5 years ago, so it's like insane to think about. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. I mean, I could go over many things, but I don't know if this is meant to be like an advice video or just, I don't know if I want to do advice videos per se. I just want to kind of like talk, and then if you guys find this useful, then you know, then you can yeah, subscribe. By the way, if you find this useful, subscribe to the channel. You know, hit the like button. Yada yada yada, all that stuff. Share the videos. Because yeah, I don't know. This is probably just gonna be like a thoughts and mind type of channel going forward. Just because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about, you know. Got a lot of like future video ideas, and probably gonna like film them in advance. Just complete. They might be like out of order, like in the timeline of our lives, but I'll try to make them so that they're a little bit more relevant to like every day than just, you know, like I don't want to cover the slop. I don't want to be chasing the latest breaking news. There's a lot of people that do that very well, and I just don't really want to be in that domain. So, but yeah, to just kind of get back, like I've been reading a lot, and if you guys want to know like specifically what I spent the majority of 2020. This is like after COVID. Sorry, I digressed quite a bit there, but like during COVID, everyone went insane. You know, I'm ashamed to admit I kind of fell into the QAnon rabbit hole that year. If you guys don't know what QAnon is, it was like this whole like trust the plan, bro. Like Trump is basically like Trump is God is essentially like what the takeaway from it was. And you know, like Patriots in control, blah blah blah. And it was really cringe in hindsight. I think the whole thing was a psyop too, especially like the more I've learned about, you know, how the government, like CIA and FBI and things like that work. I think the whole QAnon thing was quite literally a psyop to get people to like literally do nothing, so that they could do COVID and the election and all that, and it worked. So I kind of got into that. You know, I was listening to that like all year. Like I'm trying to think of all the things I was like listening to in 2020. It was like that. Stefan Molyneux. I remember Stefan Molyneux. If you guys don't know who that guy is, he's like a anarchist philosopher, like old school guy. He's really good, actually. Check him out, but he's not on YouTube anymore. He's on something like Odyssey and Rumble and things like that. But he got like banned. I remember he had like 1 million subscribers. He was like a big YouTuber, and he got banned that year because he just started talking about the virus. Like that's how crazy it is. People have like already forgotten just how insane everyone went that year. Like you couldn't even talk about this stuff without being like I was lucky. I actually had a really good employment during that time, like I said, where it didn't affect me. But there's a lot of people that are just getting fired for talking about this stuff, not wanting to get the medicine. You know, that's what I'm going to call it, just to be safe. Safe for YouTube, obviously. But yeah, it was just an absolutely insane year. You know, I got evicted because my my landlords thought I was going to kill them because I started going outside. It was literally that. Like, I remember I went outside and I went over to like a friend's house to have dinner, and I came back and we had like this like argument over me like not leaving the house. It was so weird, guys. It was so weird just thinking about it. And, obviously, like, everybody's like, it just they try to memory hole all of this. So yeah, that was just it was like a, when I think about like PTSD in the war, I'm not trying to like say that I'm like a war veteran or anything, put myself in that level, but I think COVID just messed with people like more than we realize. And we're going to be like dealing with the ramifications of this for generations. Maybe not generations, maybe like our generation, but I think the youngest generation now, I think as of this year, they're called Generation Alpha. They've like officially, they have like a timeline now from like 2025. Like these are the kids that are going to be raised. But there was also kids in 2020 and that were born that year. And I don't know if you think about like the kids born in like 2018. Right, so by 2028 they will be 10 years old, and so really by like 2038 these kids are going to be adults, and that's when I think a lot of the that's also pretty much around the time when and I mean like probably like 70% of the boomers are going to be dead. So that is going to be wild. Like that's really to get back to what I was saying about what I've been doing. Like, I've been preparing for things like this, like really lowering my standard of living, trying to save every cent, just but I digress. So COVID happened, right? The election was taken, and I just kind of went insane. I remember I just kind of like lost it. I was very paranoid. I didn't trust anyone. That's another thing COVID did, is like you really like didn't trust anyone. I actually did meet I knew him before, but I became really close to one of my more casual friends in 2020, and thank God for that. He helped me quite a bit. So there was good. Like, I lost friends, but I gained friends. But I don't know, like, I was just like, the conversations I was having with people, they just didn't get it, and I didn't fully get it yet either, because I hadn't like read the books or anything, but I just knew that I was like, this is just, something's off. It like inspired me, it prompted me, like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta know what the hell's going on. If you guys remember too, that was the year I made the video where I was boycotting the NFL because that disgusted me. I remember the NFL started putting the like end racism crap and just all that race politics, all the political George Floyd garbage that the NFL was doing. Absolutely cringe. I couldn't support it. I didn't watch the Eagles all that year. I don't even know what happened to that season. I think that year in 2021 I just didn't watch. Because I just didn't care. Just didn't care. I still don't care that much, but I've watched them since, obviously. But so yeah, there was that, and then 2021 was that was the year where I just was like, all right, I'm gonna like, I've now seen this. I can't like unsee it. Okay. And I still had my job. I actually didn't lose my job until 2023 due to layoffs, but all that was inevitable. Like in hindsight, and the more I was learning, like I actually was like prepared for that. I was like, okay, they printed all this money in 2020, 2021. They kept printing money for like 2 years of Biden, probably the whole term of Biden, but we didn't really start to see like the economic ramifications until like 2022. So like I just started really buckling down. I started like learning, and I haven't talked a lot on this channel about it, but I'm probably going to start talking about it a lot more. I got into Bitcoin. If you guys have not researched Bitcoin, I highly recommend it. I'm going to be like almost repeating myself a lot about that in these in videos, but you just got to look into things like that. It's like required, I'd say, at this point, as we enter Weimar Germany, hyperinflation possibilities in the very near future. You know, a lot of my friends, oh, it's not going to happen in our lives. We're old. Like, dude, this could happen in like 5-10 years tops. Like I said, 2038, that's just around the corner. 14 years seems like a long time, but it's really not. That's another thing that happens when you get older, is you just kind of, time just kind of goes by. You know, we're already in April, almost May of 2025. You know, the year's basically half over. Trump's already been in office for what, 4 months. So yeah, that's just how fast time goes. So you just got to prepare for these things. So yeah, like 2021, that was my big like reading year. One of my biggest. 2021 and 2022 was when I just read tons of books. You know, I've always been like this, like since like 2018, watching podcasts, but you know, I got even more obsessed. Basically, like anytime I wasn't working or sleeping or going to the gym, I was just reading about just everything. Like I read books about health, finance, big one. That's how I found out about Bitcoin, because I didn't understand how any of that worked, like real estate, stocks. So I just was like, I'm going to read about all this. I read about Wall Street. I read about Roth IRA, 401k, gold, silver, just all this stuff. Quantitative easing, Keynesian economics versus Austrian economics, things like this. And it was very rewarding for that. And then obviously politically wanted to understand what the hell was going on. So I started following like more like dissident right stuff. They were called like NRX when I started watching them, which stood for neo-reactionary. They're just called like the dissident right now, or the alt-right, or whatever. Like the Nick Fuentes is pretty much like what it is now, but when I started watching it, it was more like Aaron McIntyre and Academic Agent, Jay Dyer, you know, these kinds of people. Jay Dyer more for the religious part, but Jay Dyer is also really good on geopolitics as well. He helped me a lot. He actually was the one. He's the reason why I read Tragedy and Hope. It's a really long book, but if you can get yourself to read that, you'll really understand a lot of things, particularly banking. You never realize how much these things affect your life until you read about them. So yeah, I was reading just like crazy amounts of books. Aaron Clarey was another guy. I read like all of his books. I don't really like agree with Aaron Clarey. A lot of the manosphere stuff, I did get into that. Like I read Rollo Tomasi's Rational Male, and I read like all of Aaron Clarey's books. He wrote a book called like How Not to Become a Millennial. He wrote a book about, I think it's called The Book of Numbers. It was just basically about like your odds of finding a woman in the modern age, which that's like a whole video, really, like the woman question at this point. Like this video, I'm just kind of like going over all the stuff I've learned to kind of give you guys an idea of what a lot of future videos might be like. Yeah, I read all the manosphere stuff. You know, I'm not a big fan of it. Like there's definitely a lot of truth to it. Especially when it comes to women, but I just don't like the idea of, you know, I don't like the Andrew Tate or the like Ryan Stone or like Rollo Tomasi. I don't really like that side of it. The best like manosphere guy, I think, right now, if you could even call him that, is like Andrew Wilson, who does The Crucible. But yeah, I learned about all that, and 2020 was kind of a crazy year. You know, I've always hated feminism. I was never like Gamergate, but you know, I remember in like 2017-ish, I did start noticing a lot of the feminism, like many guys, right? A lot of the people that get into politics, it usually, especially if you're a guy, it usually happens because of women, right? I always like to say, like, that it's fun. It's a good quote, is men have many problems in life, and most of them involve women, right? That's kind of like what spurns any man to action is women, for good or bad. And so I was always kind of aware of the feminism thing, but then like the red pill manosphere community did kind of help with that, but it gets a little cringe at times, in my opinion. Like it gets to the point where it's like male feminism. It's like and their prescription, some of their prescriptions, I completely disagree with. Like one of Rollo Tomasi's is that you should just be spinning plates, which essentially means you should just be going out and like banging all the women you can. You know, Kevin Samuels was another one. I completely forgot. I listened to him basically until he died. He started his channel for like 2 years and then he died. But he was very entertaining because he did something where he'd like let women call in, and that was really fun to listen to. That was probably one of the best Manosphere moments, because that was when I started to realize, like, okay, these women are like actually kind of insane. A lot of them. You know, you started to see the problems of like all these women in college getting like pointless degrees, debt ridden, you know, getting into their 30s, 40s, no kids, no even thought of kids, no future. As far as that was very sobering for me, because it pretty much disillusioned me completely of the idea that women are these like fragile princesses, you know, like a lot of guys are. We kind of raised to think that. Maybe it was true in the past. I think women have always been women, but we definitely live in a time now where the propaganda has completely screwed up women. I mean, to the point where, you know, I just don't know. I in many ways, sometimes I think like the millennials are just a lost generation as far as that thing, which really sucks. You know, it's like one of the most important things you'll ever do in your life, but it's also the hardest thing for us. And the Zoomers are completely checking out too, but I don't know. I think the Zoomers have a higher chance to fix it, and then again, we're gonna have to see what happens with Gen Alpha. But yeah, Kevin Samuels is great, but like the idea of spinning plates and just like sleeping with women willy-nilly, like it's kind of like a petty thing to me. It's like, okay, the women are doing this, bloody, they're making all the porn and blah, so like men should go out and just capitalize on this. And it's like, well, you're not going to solve the problem, you're just going to perpetuate it in the future. A lot of bastard children will probably be conceived this way, and so you're just setting it up worse for the future. Like a lot of people don't think about that. Like porn stars have kids, you know. Manosphere people have kids. Like, what are those kids going to look like if your entire philosophy is around the adversarial relationship between men and women, right? Like another funny quote is like the problem with the war of the sexes is that one side keeps fraternizing with the other side. So that's kind of where it went with that. You know, I took what I could out of it, and that's kind of a theme that I'm going to get in with my videos a lot about dialectic and all that, is that when you start studying anything, what I found very useful is you just kind of have to like look at the ideology like this, and then you're up here looking down, because everything you read about tends to get you to like get really excited or vigored about one side of the issue, and this happens with like everything, like feminism, the manosphere, race realism, religion, just really everything. And so when you're trying to learn about things, you want to read, you do want to even read the things you don't agree with. Like I've read tons of leftist literature. Some of it was really cringe and hard to get through. You know, I've read James Lindsay, who James Lindsay turned out to be he's like right wing is what he says, but he's turned out to be a complete disappointment. If he ever was, like, again, I didn't know a lot when I first read him, so he kind of always was this way. But another one is like Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson needs to clean his own damn room now, I think, because that guy's lost it. But, you know, I've read like Jonah Goldberg. He's kind of a leftist. I've read Mary Harrington. There's a book she wrote called Feminism Against Progress, which is I thought it was a very silly book because it's like excuse me, it's like feminism was a rejection. Feminism in and of itself was progress, right? If you look at it from the from like a political, philosophical. Let me get a water here. Oh, sorry about that. I might edit that out. I might not. I'm too lazy, but just getting a parched throat here. So yeah, like feminism in many ways was it was progress. So like to read a book called Feminism Against Progress, I thought was hilarious. And the thesis of the book was basically, we want feminism, we want to vote, blah de blah de blah. We want women's rights, we want all this stuff. But we just don't want men to feel icky about it, essentially. We don't want all the trans stuff and all the and it's like just a failure to recognize that it's like your ideology caused all of this to begin with. So there was that this is kind of just me rambling now, but I'm trying to give you guys an idea of like the gamut and the things that I've been reading for the last 5 years. I read like Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, which everyone should read. You read like Murray Rothbard, Hans Hermann Hoppe, The Democracy, the God That Failed. Like completely Francis Parker Yockey's Imperium. Like just read. These are all books. Everything I'm saying, I recommend you all read them. So if you have the time, like definitely read them. They're all on that shelf over there for me. But one that I've been struggling with, but I've just started with the last year or so, is the Bible. I'm finally like getting to the point where I've read as much political philosophical stuff, and now I'm kind of like finally looking into religion, and so I've been kind of like diving into the Orthodox Christianity side of things, and so that's been pretty rewarding. But yeah, that's basically the video. That's kind of what I've been up to, and this is kind of like also an update, future channel video. By the way, if you're still watching, appreciate it. If you got this far, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. But yeah, I probably will still make Eagles videos on occasion, especially during the season, but it's just not my passion anymore to just think about the Eagles. Like the draft is happening right now, but they drafted a linebacker. The Eagles they're one of the best teams in football right now, so it is what it is. But all the like draft, all this stuff, like I just don't want to follow that cycle. That's like a form of slop to me. Like same with politics. Like I don't want to follow the day to day. Football, giving your predictions to, like I've said in past videos, it's just FanDuel Americans at this point. It's all gambling. It's just it's an entertainment product, and it is what it is. You can watch it, you can enjoy it, but it's not meant to be taken seriously. And so that's just my views on it. And there's also plenty of channels that do the day-to-day Eagles coverage much better than I ever could. So yeah, that's kind of the video. Again, that is the future, guys. I will be diving into many topics pertaining to many things. So like I said, just kind of thoughts, and I might start going over like articles too. I have thought about that, like because a lot of to make the point about what a slop society we live in. It's always fun. I shouldn't say fun. It's always enlightening and useful to read what the mainstream is talking about, right, on any given issue. And so I'll probably do that as well. I just got to figure out a lot of tech stuff. Like I'm just using my phone right now. I would like to, figure out more of the tech side though, where I can like bring articles up. But I think I need a laptop for that, and I don't really I don't really want to spend that money yet. Got to see how the channel goes first. And yeah, it's still in its early phases, but that's kind of the plan going forward. So anyway, that is the video. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, if you're new to the channel, like it and subscribe. And anyone that's been a subscriber for a long time, if you guys are planning on sticking around, I appreciate that. And yeah, that's kind of it, guys. I'll talk to you later.